Hello and welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specific to the wedding industry. On this show, I discuss tips to help you DIY your social media, as well as getting the confidence and income to outsource it. Thank you for allowing this episode to come through on your Bluetooth, your car radio, wherever it may be you're listening from today. Now, let's take your wedding business to the next level. All right. Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. Nina here, and right now I am coming to you live from jury duty. I am in my car. We have a long hour and a half break. I've already gotten some lunch, some soda, and some coffee. So all that is left now is to record a podcast, and that's because I've spent the morning just listening and learning to podcast episodes and doing some work while waiting for my name to be called. But that is neither here nor there. If you missed last week's episode, it was all about Pinterest and why I am loving using Pinterest for wedding pros. So if you missed that episode, you are going to want to go back and check that out. But what I want to talk about today is ROI, which also means return on investment. I want to talk about this because I feel, I see, and I witness huge potential for people in the wedding industry to get a return on investment. So let's talk about, well, first, why do I feel that way? Because if you're pricing yourself properly for your services, whether it is as small as favors at a photo booth or as large as a wedding venue, these are still substantial purchases. These are several $100s on the smaller end up to several $1,000s. So let's start with small investments and what these investments look like, because that's going to mean your return is going to be really big. Let's start off by talking about social media ads. Now, you can play around with as little as $5 a day. Do that for 5 days a week. We're talking about a $25 investment there on the low end. But when you're really investing in this strategy, it can add up to several $100s a month. But if you book one wedding from that, what is going to be your return on investment? Depending on your package prices, if you spend $1,000 on ads on social media on a course and you book one wedding, for most of us, that can be a very huge return with just one booking. So that's what I really want you to think about when you are starting to invest in your business. What is the turnaround from just one booking? And start there. For example, for a limited time, I am offering a engagement season, or rather pre-engagement season coaching call. I'm doing this at a no-brainer price that I don't normally do. It is $97, and I'm doing it where it's 45 minutes and we go over your marketing one-on-one. You can ask me any questions, and what's the return on investment for that, right? It's huge, because chances are your packages start well above $97. And I'm very confident that based on what I teach you, you will inevitably book one person from that. So that then creates this no-brainer mentality to start investing in your business. This program that I mentioned, by the way, it's only open a limited time, but I'm going to keep the link open for podcast listeners. So I will link it in the show notes here. If you want to snag one of those coaching calls, I'm only doing it through November 15th, because like I said, this is a really limited time offer and opportunity. After that, my normal package that I offer 24/7 is for a 90-minute strategy call, and that's at $297. And that still offers the huge return on investment. Now let's consider an investment like going to Wedding MBA. This is going to be more costly, but it still can have a huge return, especially if you utilize it as a networking opportunity. Who are you meeting while you are there? What are you learning? And what is your strategy for implementation? How many weddings will you need to book as a result of it to make the investment worth it? That is a good rule of thumb to ask yourself about any investment you do. How many weddings will I have to book to make my return? I am confident, and these are some things that you don't see as tangibly, right? If you invest in a program like Cateries or Triple Seat, you don't get to see how that helps to book necessarily because it's such a back end function. But the truth is, it helps your team to run more efficiently. It helps the client experience to go more smoothly. Even though it does not seem like a front end investment, it still is and is bringing on that return. So that is another thing to practice and study and consider when you're investing, how you're seeing that return. And a great place to get feedback for that is to ask your team members or people you work with. Say, what struggles do you have when communicating with couples, when keeping all our party arrangements, when orchestrating our schedule, when creating our timeline? And that's when you'll start to see, wow, if we tweak these systems, then we will be more efficient. We will serve our clients better. We'll get more better reviews. We'll get more word of mouth, etc. So even though it may not be as trackable as other things, like when you're having a cost per click and Facebook ads with analytics, you're still going to see that return. And like I said, guys, I am recording this from my car, so I'm a bit more scattered than usual with the points I'm trying to make because I'm just looking at my car. I don't have any notes or my trusty computer screen or Buster with me to get me through this. So the next thing I want to think about that I think you really will be able to track is if you go to a local wedding expo or showcase, something like that. And it can be tangible because you are given a list of the emails very often at all of these events. So you can track when you start to get people filling out your contact forms or responding to email blasts. That can help you see how many you booked from that event. You also will be able to see how many you make appointments with on the spot. That's a great goal to have when going into those events. So that's an example of something with a much easier return on investment to track. And it's so important to do it because for some, it doesn't pay off. And for others, it works out great. So that's why you really want to be focusing on your numbers. Of course, a huge investment is services like the Knot or Wedding Wire. The benefit is it should, as it comes into your funnel, be easy to track because you are having those contacts come directly into your lead sequence, your database. Now, this does lead me to mentioning that you can look into a wedding management software or CRM service that's going to help with your sales funnels, with your sales correspondence, and your sequences. What's great about that is it's going to help you categorize pretty seamlessly the leads that are coming in from the Knot, the leads that are coming in directly to your contact form, and so forth. So you can see where those go. What happens with those conversations? Are they duds or do they keep going? And very often, getting one booking from the Knot, depending on your price points and what type of vendor you are and how much your contract is for. But one booking could be enough to pay it off, or let's say 2 to 3 bookings. So while it may be frustrating that a majority of the leads may not work out, when you consider how many you have booked, as well as the SEO benefits of being on the site, it could be helpful. Another thing to look at with that return on investment for outside listing sites like the Knot is the fact that you can go onto your website and see how many clicks are coming from there. Very often, I will click a vendor's website from the Knot and then contact them from there. Because when I was looking for my vendors, I wanted to see their website. I wanted to see how they were invested in social media. So you could be getting more referrals from the Knot than just what you are seeing come in directly through the Knot. Speaking of vendor lists or being on vendor directories, I do want to mention that a friend of mine, Stephanie Thomas Fitness, has launched the Official Brides List. So you can follow her on Instagram at Official Brides List. It is an online directory site that she made in the spirit of her Facebook communities that have over, I think it's over, it's either 25,000 or 250,000. I think it's 250,000 brides, and it has that really community feel to it. And that's why she wanted to create a directory more in that spirit. Since it is just launching, it's at a really low, no brainer price. So the return on that is going to be huge. So I will link it in the show notes. If you contact the Official Brides List, let them know that Nina sent you, and I'm sure Stephanie will take great care of you. So, where do I think you should be investing first in your business? I can't decide that without knowing your business personally, but here are some rules of thumb that will lead to returns for you. And one is a good and proper website. I have quite a few colleagues in the wedding industry who cater to web design specifically for you guys, for the wedding pros. So, if you need referrals, reach out to me. And what's going to happen is a website not only offers a positive client experience when it's a properly done website, but it's going to help people find you through search engine ranking and SEO and all of that good stuff. People need a place to be led to. If you're doing a listing on the Knot, but you don't have a website, you're going to miss out on some of that return, because there are some people who will see you don't have a website and will not end up finishing that sales sequence with you. They're never going to end up contacting you because they couldn't get to the website to see a bit more authority and social proof about your business. Next up, I'm of course going to say it, is social media management. Having consistent social media can transform your business, and it can be cost effective. Now, it sounds like a lot when you consider that for social media, it's going to be at least 1,000 a month if you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing. And that's a pretty low, low cost I'm giving you, because it's more likely going to be 1,600, 2,000, etc. But this is where you want to know your numbers. If your social media is able to get you 1, 2, 3 leads a month, or maybe it's sprinkled through seasons, it can really carry you through. And very often it can offset other investments that you may be doing. For example, in the beginning of your business, I think it is great to invest in wedding summits. The virtual wedding summit series is one of my favorites for getting education about the wedding industry. Also, programs like Wedding MBA, purchasing on demand courses. For example, I have my ChatGPT for wedding marketing course and the Engage to Engagement workshop available on my website. These are lower ticket items that you could do while you're building up the funds to invest in outsourcing it to somebody else to do it full time. But when you do, you're going to see that turnaround through having your business cared for 24/7 is really what ends up happening, is that every day somebody is looking out for my clients' digital footprint, their digital social media, what's happening with them online. Somebody's always there to see what's happening within 24 hours. So that is a great benefit to having somebody outsourced to your social media and checking on it. And that's going to lead to that return of couples seeing that you're around, not forgetting about you, and feeling cared for. So, Wedding MBA is coming up in just about 2 weeks. Wedding MBA is a very large wedding industry educational conference that is held in Vegas every year. And I have to say, last year, I wish I was more conscious of tracking my ROI. I did make relationships, and that was my favorite part of the experience, but I didn't track any of that. So if you're planning on going to Wedding MBA, that is my advice for you. Make a great plan of action of who else is going, who you'd like to interact with, what sessions you're going to attend, and how you're going to implement what you've learned on those sessions. I have done a past episode with Krista Graham Events all about Wedding MBA, what we thought of it after we attended, and advice of what you should wear, where you should stay, and so forth. So you can check that out. I will link it in the show notes below. And let me know what you want to hear on the I Do Wedding Marketing podcast next. Each episode, a few people will message, and it really makes me so excited and opens up the conversation between us. So if you've been listening but afraid to reach out, go for it. It gives me the chance to know who you are, know who's listening, and then craft an episode based on your specific needs. I'll never forget getting a message where someone said, "Oh, you mentioned photo booth companies. Thank you." So now I always try to mention them when I am doing my videos. But I've got about 15 minutes until I am due back for my civic duty to go back into the courthouse. So thank you guys for listening, and I will be back next Wedding Wednesday with another episode of the I Do Wedding Marketing podcast. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, or visit idoweddingmarketing.com. I also have the I Do Wedding Marketing Facebook group where you can ask direct questions, share links to your social media, and get feedback from your industry peers. Thanks for being here, guys.